Hi friends, welcome or welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. Today we are getting into the Tarot of the Curious Creatures. This is by Chris Ann and Hay House Publishing. I gotta say, the first time I saw this deck, I wasn't sure if I would be able to read from it. It's very, very quirky. The deck is very, very quirky, and I wasn't sure if I would connect with it. I had my own hesitations about the deck. I wasn't sure if this is what would help me. I just had so many thoughts about it that weren't in favor of this deck, but I saw a lot of reviews online and I said, okay, you know what? Let's give this deck a chance, all right? I love animals, so maybe I might find a way to connect with this. And oh my gosh, it has been such a good decision because I have connected to this deck in ways that I could not even imagine. This particular deck, it gives me, oh my gosh, such different interpretations, such different insights. It allows me to tap into a very, very quirky side of my intuition, and I have absolutely fallen in love with this deck. I think you can see it from my smile as well. And if you've been on the fence about this particular deck, I would say go ahead. All right, of course, kind of take a look at the images that you see, whether it's my video or another video. And on YouTube, there are plenty of them about this particular deck. But I gotta say, it's so quirky that you kind of let loose. I feel like I've let loose of myself. And sometimes if I want to find answers that are not normal, all right, questions that are not normal, I use this deck. This deck has helped me so much with that, especially questions that are beyond the scope of normalcy, and I just want to find out answers. I just want to kind of tap deeper into my intuition. This one does it for me. I have connected to this deck in such a unique way. I can't even begin to tell you. You have to buy this deck to understand what I truly mean by it. It's definitely very quirky. It took me some time to connect with this deck. I will tell you that. It took me a couple of readings. I guess I would say 10 to 15 readings with this deck to truly understand how it was helping me and for it to completely change the way that I show up as well. And of course, I'll be giving you my pro tips about reading this particular deck, some things that I figured out as I was navigating. Like I said, it took me 10 to 15 times of reading with this deck to truly connect with it. And the first few times that I read with it, I was actually kind of scared that maybe I would never connect with this deck. But as I kept reading, as it kept unlocking different aspects, different interpretations, I was like, wow, this one is very, very different. And I'm so glad that I purchased this particular deck. All right, so I am going to go through the back of the deck as I usually do, and this one has 79 cards. There's one extra full card. It's Fool 2.0, which I absolutely loved that as well, because sometimes when that comes in the reading, it's like, here we go again. It kind of gives me that energy and it really brightens me up. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to get into the tarot deck. That's how much I like this deck. All right, just can't stop talking about it. All right, so the Tarot of Curious Creatures, with their illuminating conversations and grounded wisdom, the curious and quirky characters in the 78+1 card deck and guidebook are a strangely familiar twist on the traditional tarot. Journey with these friendly creatures to the center of your truth and allow them to guide you. Journey with these friendly creatures to the center of your truth and allow them to guide you toward the unfolding of your intuitive knowing. Brilliant deck. All right, very, very intuitively designed. Nothing is a coincidence on this particular deck. Every single element is meant to be there and is meant to give you a message of some kind, which is why I am in just such awe of this deck. Yes, this is the same person to design the Light Seers Tarot, and it is visibly different, very, very different decks in terms of the energy of the decks, in terms of the messages, the interpretations, everything is very, very different. But of course, it does adhere to the symbolism of the RWS deck, but even that, very often I found myself straying from that symbolism and tapping more into the energy of the card. Of course, I will be talking more about what I mean by that as I am talking through this deck. All right, so in this video you can expect a walkthrough, you can also expect a review, you can expect how I personally read with these cards and some of the tips that has helped me connect with this deck a lot better. All right, let's get into it. Alrighty, so this is what the box looks like. So as you open the box, you have the guidebook. The guidebook by itself is pretty thick, as you can see, and I personally really like it. I mean, there is, for every card, all right, there is one section that talks about the heads, which would be the card in upright. Then it talks about the tails, which in a traditional sense, it would be the reversed version of the card, or some people also would like to call it the blocked version of that card. So it kind of gives you these keywords that you can remember. You can also kind of take a look at the description of the card. The first part is usually talking about what the card represents or what the card's meaning is. And then they also talk specifically about the animal that is mentioned, as well as how it relates to the core theme of that particular card. So overall, it's pretty comprehensive. One thing that I really like about the guidebook is that additional information of how do you relate that particular animal to the meaning of the card. And I think that that just adds a very, very different layer to the meaning behind the card and the kind of takeaways that you can have with this particular card. So overall, I say that the guidebook is absolutely fantastic. There's some really cute spreads that one can do. I think one is called Everyday Curiosities spread, and then there's another one which is Taking Action spread, Mating Season spread, Guidance spread. So a couple of really cute and nice spreads mentioned in the guidebook as well. Now the cardstock by itself, very, very typical Hay House cardstock. All right, high quality matte finish, and the matte finish actually makes the cards feel soft. It's very, very luxurious to touch, and as you can see, it's also very, very low glare because of the matte finish. I would say the thickness is medium thickness. It is very, very characteristic, as I just mentioned before, to Hay House. It's flexible but sturdy. And it's also very, very easy to handle, very smooth to shuffle as well. And the quality of print, I mean, to get so much of color, so much of detailing out there, it's just absolutely amazing. It is excellent. I would say that there are very, very sharp details, and as you can see, very, very rich colors as well. Now, the artistic style for this particular deck is anthropomorphic animals. Yes, I had to Google what exactly that was called, but it is very, very interesting. Like I said, it does take a little bit of time to get used to this style of art. Because first off, you're getting messages from the animals as well, but you're also getting messages from the body language that you can see with respect to the animals on the card as well. So it's very, very different, I would say. Like, it took me some time to get used to reading from this deck, but I absolutely love it. The animals are dressed in this whimsical, very, very vintage inspired clothing, playful. Honestly, it just looks like I'm flipping storybooks, It does look like that. And I think that this is a little bit of digital illustration with photo manipulation. That's what the artist has mentioned. And as you can see, it's very, very striking. It just stands out absolutely. Now, for me in particular, when I started reading this deck, I was already very, very familiar with the RWS symbolism, and I was able to relate it very well with the cards. I think that the message comes through very, very clear. It is unique. There are certain elements that the designer has kind of added in their perspective, but it's very quirky. The animal also embodies the essence of the card, and I think that that is just incredible designing right over there. Now, with respect to this particular deck, my thoughts behind it, I love animals, all right? I have grown up around animals, not how do I say this? Grown up watching them, because my parents would take me to the zoo every single Sunday for a couple of years when I was growing up, and we actually lived pretty close by to the zoo in Singapore, and so that was kind of our Sunday mornings with like my parents and my family. So I absolutely love animals, and I grew up kind of to the best of my knowledge, trying to understand their body language, trying to figure out them out, trying to communicate with them. That's kind of been something that I've worked on all through my life. And so for me, when I bought this deck, I was so excited because I love animals, and I can to an extent tap into their energy, but I was still a little bit worried because it's kind of quirky, it's kind of very, very different. And like I said, I was a bit skeptical. I wouldn't even say skeptical. I was just worried that I might not be able to connect with the deck. But oh my gosh, I fell in love. I fell in love. It did take me a few readings, but I eventually deeply connected with this deck. For me, this deck it just taps into a different side of my intuition, and the energy from this deck is very, very powerful, because not only are you tapping into the body language aspect of the animal slash the human part of the animal, but you're also kind of getting intuitive messages about the animal specifically, how it relates to the reading, and also how it connects to your life. And given that I've kind of had a very, very close association with animals during the very, very formative years of my life, I'm very, very deeply connected to this particular deck. All right, I actually would not recommend this deck to beginners, as there is a layer of animal energy that might be overwhelming to start with. Even though I was very, very clear with RWS symbolism, I still needed some time, and I think that for a beginner it might be overwhelming to just start off with this deck. I would say familiarize yourself with the RWS symbolism, understand that meaning first, and then step into adding that layer of animal energy, I guess I would say. So I would say this deck is more for mid to advanced, because the meanings are definitely more intuitive. I think that in particular, I tend to go into a completely different zone. And yes, while the meaning of the card does give me the step 0, I think that I tend to dive very, very deep. And I think that for mid to advanced readers in particular, I think that you can find a lot of joy in going through that depth as well. The meanings, I would also say that it is very, very emotionally accessible. You can actually understand the emotions of the animals that have been portrayed. And in particular, I love it because that's also another layer that I can tap into. I would say that this one is more of a narrative-based kind of card deck. So if you want to do for readings that maybe dive deeper into the psychological aspect of something in your life, then yes, I would highly recommend this because of the body language, because of the energy that comes through. So I would say that is good. Overall, I would say that this is a very, very lighthearted, very whimsical, and I would even say a little bit of a surreal energy to this. It's gentle, there's humor in it, as you can see, and it's also very, very insightful. I would specifically recommend this particular deck for inner child healing. I mean, for me in particular, because I have that connection to my childhood, but also, the animals, the amount of information that comes through, I think that it does kind of soothe your inner child a little bit. There's just something that is so comforting. So I would say inner child healing is really, really good with this deck. Also, of course, personal growth, self-reflection, I would say that also aligns. Given that this is, a little bit of a lighthearted deck, a little bit humorous, I would say, if you want daily guidance, but you kind of want that fresh energy, that lighthearted energy, yeah, this also gives you that. If you are looking for some kind of interpretation of some aspect of your life that's a little bit more narrative based, that's a little bit more story based, yeah, I would also say that this particular deck is good. Deeper emotional themes, I didn't really I mean, it's possible if there are something like some specific things that you really, really want to dive deep into, of course you can. But I would say that it is for more so for inner child healing, personal growth, and self-reflection. I think that with deeper themes, first off, just because the deck is a little bit lighter, it might be difficult to deeply access those. But I have kind of dived deep into inner child healing with this sometimes, and that has helped me significantly. So I guess I would say you can go deep in inner child healing, but darker themes or deeper emotional themes not related to inner child healing, that's where I probably it wouldn't resonate with me. The energy of the deck doesn't resonate with me, but take that as it resonates. That's just my connection to this particular deck. All right, so overall, I absolutely love this deck. I keep reaching out to it every time I kind of want to do some I want to do some inner child healing, or every time I feel like, I kind of want to bring my inner child out and kind of understand what she's thinking, what she's feeling, what she needs from me right now, what is comforting to her. All of those, I definitely bring out this deck. Also for my clients, if I feel that they are a bit vulnerable and, part of the details or the questions that they've been asking me about, it's more to do with perhaps a narrative that they're looking for, perhaps a more psychological understanding of the situation that they're in, psychological understanding of their actions or what's happening, then I would pick this deck. And I have picked this deck actually. And also, I guess if there's a part of them that I feel it's a little bit of an inner child wound, again, I reach out for this deck. For me in particular, this has been one that has helped significantly with respect to just making sure that your inner child feels safe to speak whatever is on their mind and to kind of bring them out to play, but also creating a safe space to heal whatever wounds that your inner child might have experienced. Of course, you can use this for personal growth and self-reflection, but for me in particular, I would recommend this highly for inner child healing. That's just the energy that speaks to me. And definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments section, all right? And what we're gonna do is, right after this, we're gonna pick one particular card, and then I'll kind of share a few questions that I ask myself with respect to inner child healing and how it can help you with yours as well. And so that wraps up, me showing you the cards. And as you can see, the shuffling is so easy. I mean, it is so smooth. Sometimes even when I'm shuffling, some of the cards just flip out, they just come out. The energy while you are shuffling the cards is also very, very powerful. I feel that there is just a lot of energy in the cards, all right? So once you pick a card, the first thing that one can do, especially if you're kind of using this for personal growth, self-reflection, or inner child healing, would be to pick the card after shuffling and then to open out the guidebook. Of course, that is completely, dependent on you, but for the point of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in the guidebook, and then I'll give you a few questions, all right? So we picked out the 5 of Wands, and when you open out the guidebook, you see heads, and heads basically talks about all the meanings that are upright. You can look through the meanings and just see, depending on the question that you've asked, just see how it can relate to what you're going through. And even if the card is not reversed, sometimes it actually does help to take a look at the blocked meanings as well. In this particular guidebook for this particular deck, it's called the Tails. And just see if there's any part of it that does resonate with you at this point in time, because sometimes it's not just the upright messages, it's also the blocked messages. And sometimes it can be a combination of both. It doesn't have to be just upright or just blocked. That's one thing that I feel in particular, that's just my opinion. And then you can kind of take a look at the message that they have kind of talked about with respect to that particular card. And for this Five of Wands that we have over here, these are hyenas, right? So there's something called hyena conversations, competing for the hierarchy within the pack is a fact of life, and there is nothing to fear from putting yourself to the test. How seriously do you take your performance? Can you see the humor in your own missteps and misunderstandings? Are you made stronger by them? Are you growing and learning through friendly competition? And when is comparisonitis damaging your growth? One thing that I really like about the guidebook is that it asks a lot of questions, a lot of very, very deep questions. And I think that it's important, especially if you're journaling, you don't know what to, write about, you don't know what to, how to interpret the cards. I think that questions can give you a very, very good starting point. Now, a few questions that I would like to give you with respect to inner child healing. So the first question is, what does my inner child need from me today? All right, that's a good question, good starting point. You can kind of take the meaning of the card. Probably the blocked versions would tell you what is feeling blocked within you and how you can cater to that. The second question is, how can I nurture and comfort my inner child? The third question, what playful energy or joy can I tap into today? I really think that this question is helpful because the cards by itself have a layer of humor to it, so you can definitely tap into that energy. The fourth question is, what message does my inner child have for my future self or my present self? So maybe, your inner child wants to tell you that she or they are very, very proud of you, or there's something that needs to be addressed, or they feel protected by you, so on and so forth. There are so many messages that could come through, and I feel like this is a really nice way to kind of tap into that to make your inner child feel seen as well. The last question that I do have for you is, what fear from my past needs my love and reassurance? Or, what fear from my inner child needs my love and reassurance? So that also could be a way for you to work on your inner child healing as well. So overall, I think that there are different ways that you can use this deck, but the most important thing is that there are so many different layers to this card, especially when you are tapping into the energy. Sometimes it can get overwhelming because you have like a lot of messages coming from different sides, like the animal, then the body language, then the pictures by themselves, like different details about the pictures, then the card meaning by itself, the RWS meaning, and then the background, and then maybe the side, elements as well. So there are lot of elements and a lot of layers that you can pick into. My advice, I guess, would be to first start with one layer, focus on one layer, and then slowly work your way through different layers. That way you're not overwhelmed by all of the information that's coming through at the same time, and you can have a more structured way. Of course, if you're writing this down, it definitely kind of gives you that smooth flow. But I would say one layer and then slowly tap into the next and then the next. That would be helpful, and that would give you the clarity as well. I really hope that you liked this review, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.